Hey, what's up? Anthony here, ARcreates. Got another tutorial for you guys today. I'm going to show you real quick how to do this vintage 90s text effect. Probably saw this on a lot of t-shirts from the 90s, especially sports. The NBA made this style really popular. A lot of the wrestling shirts from that era looked like this. Kind of a noisy gradient, real blocky outlines on fonts and stuff. So I'm gonna show you how to do it really quick, show you how to kind of get a distressed look to it, to give it that vintage look. And if you don't want to do this on your own, I've actually created a free package of these effects already in Photoshop. All you have to do is type out your text, click on the layer effect, and it will do everything for you. You can find that in the link below. But let's go ahead and open up Photoshop, and we're going to get started on this tutorial. Alright, so now that we are over here in Photoshop, just create you a document of any size. This one's just size for social media here, but this will work on anything. Just remember that some of these effects will change based on the size of your document, because there's strokes and everything. So just keep that in mind. If it doesn't look exactly like mine, then you can just adjust it, and I'll talk about that in a second. But let's go ahead and just type out all caps word here. Let's just do champions, since we're talking about sports stuff. I'm going to put this right here in the middle, and I just put it on a kind of a grayish dark black background just so it shows up better. Doesn't really matter what your text color is at this point, because we're going to be changing this anyway. So just make it something easy to see. And then now we need to find a font. We need a good, bold font. You can find these really anywhere, these slab type fonts. I've got this one that's a kind of a take on the old wrestling thing. It's called Smackdown 2019. I found it on a free font site. I'll try to put a link to that down there. So this is our base. This is what we're going to start with. And then this is what we're going for. We're going to end up with this. And so these are these text effects that I told you that I've already created. They're going to be in that pack below, but I'm going to show you how to do this on your own and kind of create your own colors. So let's undo this. And so once we have that, once we have everything out, get your letters positioned like you want. Looks good if they're kind of close together. And then we're going to double click on our text layer to open up this layer style here. Okay, this is where we're going to start putting this together. Now, people do these in different ways, but I like to start with the color portion of it. Let's get the color right. So we're going to add a gradient overlay. And if we click into this and turn it on, and then double click on the gradient, here we can change the colors. So if we wanted to do, something kind of related to the old Chicago Bulls, we'd probably start with a good red and end with a red. And then in the middle, because their colors are red and black, we could go back and do kind of a black color right here and see that fades. And so to get this more of a line across here, if you look, we have our three colors right through here. And to the left and the right of the center, you have these little diamond shapes. If you will click on that and drag, you can get closer to each side. Okay. So now we don't have as much of a fade on the bottom side. And then if we take this and move it back to here, so now we kind of have this line that goes across it. Of course, if we wanted more of a gradient, we could do it that way. Some other popular colors were, blues and purples for different teams. So we can start with a blue, and we can end with kind of a purplish color. And then if we click on that middle one and hit our delete key, we can take that out. And we can just change our colors from here. So just pick a color that we really like. There's really no right or wrong way to do this. It's just that was a popular style of the time, was using these gradients. If you don't want to do this on your own, you can there's a whole bunch of gradients by just clicking on these different colors. These are already in Photoshop. Some of these look really good, so you could just, pick and choose that way. Or if you're going for a specific team color, you can make your own. So I'm going to go back, and I really like the red, kind of the red colors. So we're gonna do that, and I want red on the end, and then in the middle, I'm gonna add another one, and I'm gonna go back to kind of this black and gray, sort of black look right here, and change these up just a little bit. And then I'm gonna slide this down so it's more towards the top there. And so it doesn't look like a lot right now, but we're going to get there. And you can also add in more of these gradients. If I just click right here, now I've added another color in. So if I wanted to start with kind of a dark red and then fade to a bright red, I could do it that way as well. So it kind of gives it a little bit better look right there. And then I'm going to bring this black to where it's almost just kind of a stripe across it. Okay. So we have our gradient, we have our color starting to get in there. Next, we're going to go to Bevel and Emboss up here at the top. And if you check that box and then click on it, what this is going to do is kind of give it sort of a 3D look. I'm using chisel hard and outer bevel, but you can play around with these and just try different effects. Like I said, there's not really a right way and a wrong way to do it. It just depends on what look you're going for. Your depth is basically how deep the bevel is on it. As you can see, if I go all the way maximum and then all the way minimum here. So keeping it up towards the top. The size is just how large. If you get too large, it kind of just looks like an outline around it. But we're going to play with this and we want just that slightest little, 3D effect to it. Soften, changes up how harsh the angles are and everything on it. So I like it to be really chiseled looking. So we're going to leave it like that. You can change these angles and these contours here to get different effects. As you can see, it's just changing based on that. So find a good one that you like, kind of matches the style that you're going for. And you can adjust these up and down if you want it to be kind of a shiny, highlight, almost a metallic look. You can do that if you want the shadows in and out. Again, this is all personal preference, but just showing you how you can change these different effects. All right, next we're going to add a stroke. And you'll notice on mine under Bevel and Emboss, I actually have 2 strokes here. And so if I turn both of them on, you can see that there are different colors, but we're going to start with the bottom one because these are stacked. And so I want kind of a reddish look to that. As you can see now around in here, we've got this red outline, this red stroke. If you go black, you go white. Depends on what you're looking for, but I'm going to do red on this one. And then the next one, I'm going to make it white. Okay. And if we adjust these, see, this is the one that gives me kind of the overall stroke. And then if I adjust this one's the inner stroke. And so again, this depends on what look you're going for, but this is kind of what I wanted here. I wanted is to add just enough where it kind of looks like this sort of metallic kind of look to it here. And then once we do that, I'm going to go back up here to Bevel and Emboss and turn the contour on. And again, this is just, getting the overall shape here that we like. And then next, we're going to add an inner glow. I'm going to change my inner glow to white. And then down here, make sure it's on edge. And then your choke is going to be the point where it's at. And then the size of it is, as you can see, we get that. And then if we turn the opacity down, we kind of get this sort of glow around it. So again, this is going to depend on what size font you have and everything. This just adds a little bit to it. And then if you wanted to, you could add an outer glow. Not really going to worry about that too much. But now we kind of have this basic, this look, this sort of 3D look, this kind of 90s look, depending on the gradient you use and all that. So we've got the text effect down. But now we kind of want this, we need this really distressed look to give it this real vintage look. There's a couple of different ways you can do this. You could just find a vintage texture like here. I will show you this. I've got a vintage, I think it's called vintage paper or grunge paper. And I can enlarge this to where it fits over it. right click on that layer, select clipping mask so it's over it. And oh, I'm sorry. First you have to, this is a step I missed here. Before you do this, to get an overlay on it, I would duplicate this, hide the bottom one, and then right click and select convert to smart object. Okay. So that's going to make it editable with layers over that. So now that we have a clipping mask over it, you can see that our grunge layer is on top of it. Selecting our grunge layer, if we go down here, you can see what the different effects do to it. Lighten and screen, you've got overlay, you know, just how much grunge do you want to add to it. So if we do like subtract, that looks pretty good there. Then you can adjust the feel, just, you know, add a little bit more to it. So that's something that we can do there. The other option is, let's hide that and turn our layer mask on for the text layer, which is now a smart object. Okay, and then we're going to actually open another texture, and I'm going to put a link to these. This is a distressed, washed kind of textures here. And let's see, washed and worn is what they're called. So I'm just going to pick one of these and open this. And then I'm going to hit Control A to select everything, and then Control C or Command C to copy and paste, or to copy it. And now we're done with that layer. Okay. Come back to my original one, hold down the alternate key and click on the layer mask. And so now we're editing just the mask, and then paste in my layer. Okay. And I'm just going to resize this to fit the thing there. And then I'm going to go back and click on the text layer, the smart object layer, next to the layer mask. Okay. And then Control D to deselect everything. And so now we have a layer mask here that gives us that distressed look as well. And it's over, as you can see, it's on top of everything there. The good thing about doing it this way is it masks out. So if we change our background color here to something else, you can see that it still goes through no matter what color is there. So that's one advantage to using a layer mask for something like this, is that if you were to design this and export it to a t-shirt or something like that, and you wanted everything to show through, then you could do it as a layer mask. If you're just wanting to place a texture on top of it, then you would do it through a clipping mask. So I'm going to go back and go back to this kind of dark red here to match. Okay, so now one way we could do this, or one thing we can do, is I have pulled up, of course, a vintage picture of the great 90s Chicago Bulls. And so just to kind of show you this, see, because we're using a layer mask, you can see wherever we put this, it kind of shows through. But that doesn't really work for what we're trying to do. It works for if you're getting that vintage look on a solid color, but it doesn't really work for what we're trying to do here. If I want to make this look like a really vintage photo, I'm going to disable that layer mask. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is down here, I'm going to go back and click on my actual photo. And then right next to the layer mask, it's this little circle that looks like it's divided with a dark and a light. This is adjustment layers. I'm going to select color lookup. Okay. Now up here, this will let us load an LUT file. And I'm going to go through these and select one of these, either the Fuji or the Kodaks. These are film effects. And so as you can see, as we go through these, you kind of get that, it looks like vintage film. That's kind of what we're going for there. So we're going to do that. And then I'm going to turn my grunge layer on, except what I'm going to do is release the clipping mask, and I'm going to put this over the entire thing here. Okay. And I'm going to change it back to, see, I'm going to put it on lighten. And if we go all the way, that's a little too much. But what we do is just bump it up. So we get around that 25 to 30 range, you know, just depending on how much of the effect you want. So now we kind of got this. This portion, our text layer, though, kind of really stands out. So what we're going to do with it is go to filter and then go to noise and add noise. All right, and select Gaussian and monochromatic. And now again, this is going to be based on how large this is. I'm using a fairly large canvas here, so I have to turn my noise up quite a bit to get it to show up. If you're using a smaller size, then you may go down lower. But what I want to do is just kind of give some noise on this, give it some fade. So we're going to click OK there. And now if I will click on the very top layer, this is a really cool trick so that you don't mess everything up if you decide to undo all this. If you will hit Control or Command, Shift, Alternate E, it duplicates everything that is visible and puts it on one layer. So now, see, if I move this around, it moves everything. Okay, so now on that layer, I'm going to go back and go to noise. I'm going to add noise to the whole layer here. Okay. On mine, I'm going to select it around 15 to 16. So this gets on the whole layer here. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to add another kind of vintage poster texture effect on this. So I'm going to place, go back to textures. I've got a good poster texture here. And let's find a good one. This one looks good. And we're going to make this fit. Just put it on all the corners here. And then we're just going to play with the effects. You know, all multiply, you've got light and you've got screen, overlay. You got all these different looks here. So it's just kind of what you're going for. I'm going to put it on divide. And you can see the difference it makes. It kind of adds these little wrinkles across here and everything. So that's, now you've got this really vintage look. So that kind of shows you how to do it. You can get the text effects and then how to make it even more if you're wanting this really vintage graphic. You just got to remember that back in the 90s, you know, especially with photos, you know, our camera technology was not as great. People were still using film a lot. So you had the film grain, but people that were using digital, the pictures were very noisy. And you just had a lot of that grain, that grunge, really popular look. So if you don't want to go through all of this on your own, just click the links below, go and download the free text effects, the layer effects. You can see all of them over here on my right side. I've got several of them. You can play around with those and edit those. I will link to the vintage wash textures. And there you go. Have fun. If you use this tutorial or you do anything with this, tag me on Instagram at ARcreates. I would love to see what you create using these tutorials. Talk to you guys later.